The offensive and defensive coordinators were introduced to the Chicago media yesterday as Ben Johnson, the new head coach staff, is shaping up to take place for high expectations for 2025. In basketball, the Chicago Bulls had an up and down week. Could there be changes between now and next Thursday's trade deadline? We'll give you our thoughts coming up. In college basketball, the Fighting Illini, they laid a big fat egg at Nebraska last night. We'll give you all the ugly details. And a former Chicago baseball player explains how his time on the South Side helped change the trajectory of his life in his career. That and a whole lot more. Second City Sports, the Friday Funk edition starts right now. Welcome to another Friday Funk edition of Second City Sports. You're locked and loaded and live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss LaKeena McGee, which is she. I am Sidney. You better know by now that this is me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, and IG.
Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. That's Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinion during our 2-hour extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show, you can definitely hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you. But you decide to troll and or do something silly, dumb, or stupid. I've given LaKeena full powers to give you fools to Bill and be a boot.
Toodles.
But before we begin, we must remind you whether you're watching us live on our Facebook and YouTube pages or checking us out on the replay. Shout out to the replay gang. Don't you never, ever forget, we are here for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And you know we will provide.
And we invite you some of the best here on Second City Sports, of course, as the Illini lose a tough one in Omaha. Also, lots of sports media news, a lot of moving parts as Amazon and NBC's new NBA coverage, as will start next season, take shape in other sports media news as well. Christine Mack from KXRB will join us for that. Could there be some more baseball moves for both the Cubs and the White Sox? Maybe. Also, are you guys going to miss football this weekend? Of course, with the Super Bowl not happening until next weekend down the Big Easy, we'll get you guys, try to keep you guys occupied until then. Of course, Bulls and NBA at the bottom of the hour. But first, of course, we're going to dive right into some football, not off the field, but as the Bears officially introduced their coaching staff yesterday, a couple of days ago, I should say, of their new offensive and defensive coordinators, and of course with new head coach Ben Johnson. And Sid, like I said, I didn't catch a lot of the presser because I kind of felt like, look, the press conference, I know everybody wants to say, well, Dennis Allen, of course, he's been doing this a long time. He's been a coordinator. Well, he's worked with defensive with various NFL teams for almost 30 years or something like that. So, I think this isn't new territory for him. But on the flip side, though, with their new OC, and this is going to be interesting because I'm kind of wondering, Declan Doyle is going to be, he's only 28. And it's going to be interesting to see, he was a passing game coordinator for Denver, and it's going to be interesting to see, they both want to get to work, but again, you got to have the personnel. And for me, it's just like, it's not like, look, press conferences are fine, but you got to prove it now on the field.
And that's what Dennis Allen talked about with the Chicago media just a couple of days ago. He said, I was intrigued about the parts that we already have, referring to the Bears, but we need more. And the same thing with Declan Doyle as well. As we talked about in our last couple of episodes, that with the way, I'll start with the defense first. The way the defense is going to play next year and beyond, along as the Ben Johnson coaching staff is here, on the defensive side, they're going to play a 4-3 defense, no Tampa 2 coverage, so everything's going to be man to man, especially in that secondary. And as we said in general, with new people, with new systems come new players. And as we said before, we'll keep asking this question until free agency and perhaps the NFL draft later on in April, early May as well. Which players are going to be here for the long haul to revive this new system that Ben Johnson has on the defensive side of the ball? Now, offensively, you mentioned with Declan Doyle, he's 28 years old. He has fresh ideas, I'm sure. He's coming from the Sean Payton coaching tree, as you mentioned, being a passing coordinator or the former passing coordinator of the Broncos from this past season, where the Broncos were in the playoffs thanks to rookie quarterback Bo Nix. He talked about the decline. Declan talked about how he was intrigued by Caleb Williams and the potential that he has to lead this offense. And here's the thing we talked about, LaKeena, that Caleb Williams have his ups and downs as we expected throughout his rookie year. Yes, but in the fourth quarter, in terms of his passer rating, no one was better than him in the National Football League. So you have something to work with him. But the two biggest areas that the Bears must address this offseason, we'll keep saying this again until free agency starts in mid-March: offensive line and backup running back. Now, Roschon Johnson only played half the year because of concussion issues and things along that line. But DeAndre Swift, he's a nice running back. We saw what he could do when that old Eberflus coaching staff used to run, which is very few times, by the way, outside that 3-game winning streak early in the year. But with DeAndre Swift now, you need a backup running back that's going to get those tough yards, especially in late game situations. But before you get to that, you need a solid offensive line. The only two people that I trust, and by default, Braxton Jones in the draft pick from a couple years ago, and he looked good in his second year, and that's Darnell Wright.
You listen to Second City Sports on Sports Chicago, LaKeena, McGee, Sidney Brown. With you now, again, I will say as far as the offense is concerned, like who's going to be the O-line coach? That's the one area that the Bears have not addressed yet, and that's going to be the thing. Like you wanted to do all these these all types of different styles and try to throw teammates off. You're not going to be able to do that with a bad O line, and we saw what happened with Caleb Williams, throughout the season, this past season, and it's just like you got to get the O line, going, especially if whether it's through the draft, because I know it's a lot of O line depth, especially a lot of tackle depth this year, or if you do it, go through free agency. So I think for me, it's just like one of those things where, yeah, I mean, look, you can preach what you want to preach, but like I said, personnel is going to be the key. And unfortunately, at least so far, Ryan Poles has shown that he can't draft like offensive line. So I think again, look, we can do all like the the pomp and circumstance and whatnot with all the different looks that we might see. I know Ben Johnson said he wants to he's going to implement a different style. Well, one of the reasons why the Lions offense was so successful was because of the O-line. Penei Sewell, of course, another like a 5-time Pro Bowler. So and I think Jared Goff was like the one of the least sacked quarterbacks in the league this season. So for me, it's just like you got to get the personnel going if you want to implement all these type of schemes you want to do.
And now, what's taking place this weekend will be the Senior Bowl down in Mobile, Alabama. I know everybody who's a scout in the National Football League is down there, from representative scouting departments from all 32 teams that assembled down there in Mobile, Alabama. The Bears are heavy with their scouting department there, who are down there representing the Monsters of Midway as well. But from what I read the last 24 hours or so, there's a bunch of linemen, as you mentioned, LaKeena, that could be available for the Bears at number 10, and Gray Zabel among those in the standout offensive lineman. I know Kevin Fishman from The Athletic did a deep dive with his latest article in The Athletic. Please go check it out. But LaKeena, I'll ask this a simple question. Hopefully it's the last time, but I don't think it will be, since it's a long all season ahead for the Chicago Bears. If you stand pat, I believe that they pick at 10th, correct?
Yep.
So if you send Pat at number 10 and one of the offensive linemen that's supposed to be picked around there, you would think that common logic would say that you go with common logic, you pick the best offensive lineman at number 10. But if that player is not there at that spot when you get to it, one of the options, and I keep saying this, that you could trade that out of that number 10 pick, get multiple first round picks, get a first and a second round. You can still get the player that you want. But I have no doubt that the Bears will get a couple offensive linemen. They may get one in free agency, but in terms of the draft, if the offensive lineman you know for sure will be there number 10, you go ahead and take them. But my stance is right now that if the offensive lineman is not there at 10, you trade out of the pick, get multiple picks. You can still get your star offensive lineman still in this draft.
Yeah, I mean, your biggest look, the Bears' biggest needs are you need a new center, a new guard, a tackle,
Hmm.
and I think look, there's a lot of guys out there that can probably see that maybe the Bears might want. And but what again, that whole thing with that the Packers win. I mean, you went down from 9 to 10, so well, unfortunately you don't you're not gonna be able to to trade out of that pick. So yeah, do you make multiple picks? Maybe, but again, you just gotta figure out like what. Look, I'm sure Coach Johnson's gonna be more hands-on, do a hands-on approach with polls, and they're gonna collaborate and find out exactly what can the Bears do at at that position. Do they pick somebody, or so there's gonna be a lot of depth there. And what okay, so and if they don't, and if the guy you guys want isn't there or gets traded, it's going to be kind of interesting to see like what's going to be sort of like the key here. And I think for me the key is going to be like you got to try to get somebody that will can protect Caleb Williams, and that's really the number one key here. And I kind of feel like this is sort of the thing that look you would think with an old line guy like Poles was, he played O line, you think he'd be good at it, but so far he's shown that he hasn't. So I know Will Campbell's name's been thrown around. He's an all SEC from LSU, a tackle. I know Josh Simmons is another guy, from Ohio State, fresh off a national championship. He protected Will Howard's blind side very well there. So yeah, there's a lot of names that are going to be thrown around this next few couple months, and yeah, it's just going to be like, do they? You got to make sure they pick the right one.
And let's flip it over to the defense. And as I said it before, and I'll say it again. Looks like we'll repeat ourselves 1,000 times between now and the NFL draft. The defense on the defensive side of the ball, we know it's going to be a 4-3 defense. It's going to play more of a man coverage, and you still need pressure to get to the quarterback. Montez Sweat, who was injured half the year, led the team in 5.5 sacks. That's unacceptable. And we asked this question last offseason. We're going to ask it again this offseason. Who's going to be that guy that's going to be the pass rusher opposite of Montez Sweat on that defensive line? Will it come via free agency, or will it come via the NFL draft? I know when Kevin Fishbane's article, he does a deep dive into this, but Texas A&M's Shamar Stewart. Let's not forget about Abdul Carter from Penn State. Will he be there number 10? Should the Bears go pass rusher with their first round pick? Or will they look at Marshall's Mike Green as a potential option? He was a great pass rusher at the University of Marshall as well. So the Bears have options here with the defensive pass rusher. They should have no excuses of getting that. If they don't get selected with their first round pick, they have a couple of second round picks, I believe, and a third round pick as well. So if they don't select a stud pass rusher with their first round pick, they'll have an opportunity to do so in the later rounds.
Yeah, I mean Abdul Carter, I know, but he's going to be gone probably within earlier, in that round. Maybe James Pierce Jr. from Tennessee. Maybe. I mean, you mentioned Mike Green from Marshall. I really like him. Like I say, he was all
Mhm.
defense in Conference USA. Mikael Williams from Georgia. So yeah, I mean, there are lots of depth out there, but you got to find somebody that's going to be able to fit the scheme that Dennis Allen wants to run. So that's going to be another thing that's going to be, kind of see, like, make sure you pick the right guy. You don't want this to be like a situation where you thought you may have gotten the right guy, but then it turns out that you thought you were going to get another guy, and then something weird happens. So yeah, but again, like I said, we'll be talking about this for like the next, like, we got like about 3 or 4 months before the draft. So yeah,
Pull its teeth and then some.
We're gonna be doing this ad nauseum for these next 3 or 4 months. Yay!
Yeah. And whoever you select, I'm talking about with Ben Johnson and Ryan Poles, uh, the players that they select, they have to be impact players right now. I know that Ben Johnson is going to be given a little bit of grace period here next year, perhaps into 2026. It depends on how his first season goes. But whoever you select, they have to be an impact player that needs to contribute and is ready to contribute right now.
we'll keep you guys updated, of course. Like I said, we're going to be talking about this ad nauseam for the next 3 or 4 months. So, this is not going to be the first discussion. Yeah. And hopefully we'll have, hopefully we'll have some folks to come on, to talk about it as well these next 3 months. So make it a little less, less time consuming. We're taking a really quick break. Of course, we're going to go to the hardwood next as the Bulls are up north in Toronto as they played the Raptors. And they had an up and down week. And could some Bulls be on the move? Well, we'll talk about that and a whole lot more. LaKeena, McGee, Sidney Brown, Second City Sports on Sports in Chicago, talking NBA right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to the Friday Fun edition of Second City Sports. You're locked and loaded and live and in living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago. I'm Sid. That's LaKeena. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow my LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, the IG.
We have exactly 85 minutes left of the show in this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. If you have any questions or comments for us as we dive into some Bulls talk, and along with some NBA All-Star snubs and reserves talk as well, you can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you.
You follow? All right, Sid. So let's go into some NBA here as the Bulls are gearing up for their game against Toronto tonight, and kind of a mixed It was a mixed bag this week for the Bulls. I mean, they beat the defending champions, the Nuggets, of course. That's I mean, I wasn't that surprised. I don't know about you, but I wasn't that surprised that the Bulls were able to pull off the upset earlier this week against the Nuggets. Just a great team effort win there on Monday, and it was just like I said. I mean, look, this is the second time in a row that the Bulls have beaten the Nuggets in against them. So yeah, Zach had 21 points there in that game. Vooch had another double. So just a really great showing there by them. And but unfortunately, on the flip side, though, in Boston a couple of days later, they lose to the Celtics 122-100. Of course, P. Will had 16 points, which was a season high for him. And unfortunately, Zach, is probably going to be out again tonight because his wife's expecting their third child. So he's going to be gone for a little bit. They're gearing up for their for their game against Toronto tonight. So what did you think about all this? All that transpired this week, especially with the trade deadline less than a week away.
Yeah, speaking of that Boston game, you mentioned without Zach LaVine, it's going to be tough to beat the defending champions. I know they did it once this season, and of course Zach was playing, but without Zach LaVine, it was hard for the Bulls. It was hard to watch some of the highlights of that game. And without Zach LaVine, someone was going to have to step up and carry the load. It was a team effort, but it wasn't enough against the Boston Celtics, even though Porzingis scored 34 points and Tatum had an off night, but it was other guys on that roster like Peyton Richard and Jaylen Brown that helped carry the load for the Boston Celtics. On the flip side, for the Bulls, you mentioned outside of P. Will, that wasn't too much to really look at if you're the Chicago Bulls. And the absence of Zach LaVine was noticeably evident on that court on Wednesday. But I want to touch on Monday night's win against Denver. Was I shocked? A little bit, but when you shoot the ball well overall, like the Bulls did, 50% overall, 45% from three, you should win the majority of the games in today's NBA. And that's what we said coming into this year about the Chicago Bulls team. Winning, if they shoot the ball well from 3-point range, they're going to win the majority of the time. That's what we saw on Monday. In the assist department, Denver had 36, the Bulls had 35, but take a look at this. The turnovers were technically high, but they were down for the Chicago Bulls, only 17 turnovers. And also, too, even though the Nuggets did dominate in the paint, that's what Nikola Jokic does, the Bulls kept shooting the ball, and they were making their shots. And shout out to Lonzo Ball. I know he had a season-high 18 points on Monday. He had a couple big buckets down the stretch, along with Ayo Dosunmu as well. And it's amazing that they're doing this all without Kobe White, who's been injured off and on these last few weeks or so. The Bulls shot the ball well. It was their night. They deserved that win against Denver last Monday.
You listen to Second City Sports on Chicago. LaKeena, McGee, Sidney Brown with you. And on the flip side for that Celtics game, boy, did they miss Zach. Either despite P. Will having 16 off the bench, Kobe White and his game back, at 16 points. Vooch struggled from the field. He only had 6 points, but 11 rebounds. It was a Kristaps Porzingis show as he had 34 points and 11 boards, including 10 defensive rebounds. That was a big. That was one of the big reasons why Porzingis was able to pull that off. Brown had 28. Tatum, not his best showing, 16 points was a season low for him. But yeah, it was really Porzingis that dominated both inside and the outside for the Celtics, and he was able to help the Celtics lead the way against the Bulls.
I want to ask you about Matas Buzelis, who's going to be a participant in the NBA Slam Dunk Contest coming up in a couple of weeks. But I want to get your thoughts from limited film that you've seen of him thus far. It looks like due to all the injuries that Buzelis is starting to get some playing time. I've been claiming for this for the last few weeks on this show. But from what you've seen, how you assess his performances over these last few games thus far?
Yeah, and that's really going to be kind of the thing here for the Bulls as we kind of get closer and closer to the trade deadline. And it's I don't know. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see if the Bulls do anything. I know Vooch has sort of said that he wants to go to contender, and knowing that the Bulls probably aren't gonna, they're gonna kind of go into a rebuild. Our girl Julia Poe, friend of the show from the Tribune, of course, she writes for the Bulls in the Sky. She kind of said herself, she was on there with our buddies Jared Payton and Josh Fryman last night. What up, guys? We gotta get them back on. More friends of the show. And she actually said it best. She said, look, I mean, we just see if Zach. Good luck moving Zach's contract. That's really going to be the thing. We talked about that ad nauseum there. Same thing with Vuj. Like I said, he wants to go to contender. So I'm interested to see like if they can get anything of value for any of these guys. That's really going to be kind of like the thing here for me, at least, especially if AK never are able to do anything.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a last minute deal for the Chicago Bulls. Is going to be up to the 11th hour. Next Thursday's trade deadline is at 2:00 p.m. Chicago time next Thursday, February 6th. That's the trade deadline, so we're 6 days away from that. But we talked about it ad nauseum on the show. Who's available? I know the Bulls said they're open up for business. We mentioned Zach. Good luck with that. But I think Vucevic is a realistic possibility of being moved. Lonzo Ball is a realistic possibility of being moved. It depends on what potential trade packages are out there. Maybe P. Will, maybe Ayo Dosunmu more realistically. Me personally, I don't want to see him go from this team, but he may be part of a special package. It depends on what the Bulls get back. So I think you'll see one or two players removed from this roster by the time we reconvene next week. So I think it's going to be up against the last hour for this Bulls team. We talked about Arturas Carnachova as GM Mark Eversley not making any trade deadline moves since they've been here outside of Vooch when they started this back in 2021. So they haven't made any trade deadline moves. We know what happened last year with the Zach LaVine trade, the non-Zach LaVine trade. So the Bulls have some work to do. They know that. I just hope they strategically they're playing this right, but because if they're holding out, waiting for that quote unquote deal to fall in their favor out the sky, this franchise is in trouble, more trouble than what it is already.
All right, yeah, we're gonna be talking about this. Like I said, again, like we'll probably talk about it on Monday. So it's gonna be interesting to see what the Bulls decide to do, if they're able to do anything. Now, going to the All-Star game real quick. They're gonna be playing over at the Warriors new spot in the Bay Area in a few weeks, and of course the teams have been announced. Well, some of the teams anyway. These are going to be 4 teams. If you guys well, it's a long story, but the starters you got for the East. So we'll start there. Giannis, Donovan Mitchell, Kat, Jalen Brunson, and Jason Tatum. The reserves that were announced yesterday, you got Pascal Siakam, Jaylen Brown, Darius Garland, Cade Cunningham going to his first All-Star game. Evan Mobley, Damian Lillard, and Tyler Hero. I know that made a girl Lana Tech got her happy. We gotta get her back.
Oh yes,
yeah, I know that made her happy. To the West we go. Steph Curry, KD, SGA, LeBron, and Jokic. The reserves here: Mr. Anthony Edwards, AD. We'll talk about him in a second because he suffered another injury earlier this week. James Harden, Jaren Jackson, Alperen Sengun. We talked about him a lot for Houston. Jalen Williams is second All-Star game, and Victor Wemby. So, said any issues, any surprises? Do you think a couple of Bulls, maybe you probably said maybe Vooch or Zach might have, you could probably maybe take apart for them. But yeah, it's going to be kind of interesting. But yeah, what do you think about these? What do you think about these teams?
Let me start out with the Eastern Conference first. Both positions, both guards and forwards, are stacked, and could you make a case for Zach LaVine? Yes, but the record, where the record is for the Chicago Bulls, he wasn't going to make the All-Star team. You can make a stronger case for Nikolai Vucevic of being an All-Star team. Maybe he'll get the call should one of the other stars decide not to participate because of injury or whatnot. You can make a stronger case for Vucevic more than Zach LaVine, in my opinion, who should be an All-Star from the Chicago Bulls. But again, because of their record, they're not going to get the benefit of the doubt. Now, on the Western Conference side, Norman Powell, he was one of the top 5 shooters from three-point range last year. He's up there again this year for the Los Angeles Clippers. You know what he did with the Toronto Raptors, being a role player in 2019, helping them bring their only championship for their franchise. And he's been there, arguably been there. You could say he's been their best player, especially with Kawhi Leonard being out for those first 2.5 months of the season. But Norman Powell's been the perfect sidekick to James Harden this year, and he's the second best player statistically on that team. You can argue, like I said, you can argue that he's the best player on that team because of James Harden. Powell has been able to do what he does, so he's had a career year. Maybe he'll get the call if one of those stars that you mentioned does not play due to injuries or whatnot. So I think you could argue him. I'm talking about Norman Powell as far as being
Hmm.
being on the Western Conference All Star team. In the East, you could argue Vooch better than Zach if you coming from the Chicago angle. But listening
Hmm.
to a couple of sports talk shows in New York, I know some people said that Josh Hart should have
Yeah,
gotten the call.
I heard that. Yeah.
Is so like I said, Josh Hart maybe has a stronger case than both Zach and Vooch, to be honest with you. So we're always going to have this. I know some people want to expand the rosters like they wanted to do in baseball. No, no, no. Usually the NBA gets it right. If some star gets hurt, they can't play. They usually get it right 9 times out of 10, selecting the replacement. So the expanding the rosters is not going to do it. But the way these teams were picked yesterday, of course, the reserves are picked by the coaches. So the coaches, for the most part, got it right.
Yeah,
I
I
say
mean, yeah,
about
I was
9.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, you could probably say that maybe if you want to, if again, if you wanted to, trade somebody, maybe you probably could trade, Jalen Williams for Powell since he's, you can probably, but Williams has solid season too, so I don't know if you could take him out. Same with Jaren Jackson as well, Junior as well. But yeah, I mean. It's kind of like but like I said, maybe I'm sure somebody will probably will pull out for various reasons, whether it's injuries or just want to rest. So I think Powell will get in there somehow. But yeah, I think on the Eastern side, yeah, I mean, you can make a case for all the reserves. So they've done. Cade Cunningham has done great. Look, Detroit's where they are right now. You probably say because of Mr.
Hmm.
Cunningham. So you're not going to take him out. Same thing with Evan Mobley. He's one of
Hmm.
the reserves, and Darius Garland as well. They got one of the top records in the league. So yeah, I think. Look, I think the NBA got the All Star teams. I think they're right for the most part.
Yeah, the number one rule has always been and always will be, and it should be the teams, the top 3, 4 teams that have the best record should get the most All Stars, the best representatives for the All Star game. That's been the rule in all these sports, especially we'll stick with the NBA. So. To say that Cleveland doesn't deserve an All Star, maybe one All Star, that's nonsense. You mentioned they have two. Boston, they have a multiple All Stars, and the Knicks, I know they have one via the fan/media player voting. That's Karl Anthony Towns. But if you have one of the top records in the league, top 3, 4 records in your conference, you deserve that those players have outstanding years. They should be considered for the All Star game. That's the way it has always been, and that's the way it always will be.
You listen to Second City Sports on Sports Chicago. LaKeena, McGee, Sidney Brown with you. Let's quickly go through some of the games this week in the NBA. Speaking of Cleveland, they had no trouble with Atlanta. Darius Garland had 26 points there as they beat the Hawks. Minnesota had a nice week this week. Of course, they had no trouble with Utah. 36 points for Ant. And boy, has he had a good month, Mr. Anthony Edwards. He has 485 points, 92 rebounds and assists, 69 three-pointers he made 8 last night, 12 blocks, and of course they got 10 wins during that span. No one else in the NBA has ever reached all those numbers in a month. So I know leaving the stuff off the court aside, he's actually done a really great job on the court. So really great showing by Mr. I know he's probably not going to be bummed when January is over with. Memphis actually scored the last 7 points. I think it was a 7-1 run because they were trailing. They trailed the Rockets by like 4 points. They came back and won it by 120-119. And if the Rockets end up not getting, having to play the play-in game, this could be one of those losses that could come back to bite them in the butt.
Yeah, the referees made a big mistake. I don't know if you caught it last night, LaKeena. They missed the shot. They were up 120-119. Memphis had a clear breakaway path for the potential go-ahead layup, and the referee stopped the play because they thought that Memphis called a timeout. Of course, their head coach, whose name escapes me for the moment, he was very upset last night. Of course, it was a dead ball situation. The Memphis Grizzlies got the ball, and Jaren Jackson Jr., who was named to the All-Star team, made the game-winning free throws last night. So it was a great back-and-forth game. I know Houston had an early 11-point lead. I know Alfred Şengün missed his first game of the year last night, a first-time All-Star for the Rockets. But without John Morant, LaKeena, this Memphis team knows how to play. Let's give some love to Desmond Bane, who got player of the game last night. Let's forget about Clark as well. So Memphis, I know this has been their identity throughout their whole history in Memphis. Played grinded out defense and let the offense come to you. So, but the Grizzlies did score the ball with the Rockets last night and made the little plays down the stretch. So they deserve the win. And for you that haven't seen both these teams play all year, hopefully if you watched it last night, you were very proud as a basketball fan, and you see why both these teams are where they are this year.
Yeah, Taylor Jenkins is the coach for the Grizz. I know.
Jenkins, yeah.
Yeah, that was also. Good. Yeah, so we'll see if Memphis can keep it up, or Portland beat Orlando. Orlando fall to under 500. Scoot Anderson had 23 points there, which is a season high for him. And the Lakers, no trouble with the Wizards, and of course, AD. Of course, he got hurt earlier in the week in a domino strain. I guess he's going to be reevaluated after next week. But no, didn't really need AD. Of course, Roy Hachimura had 22. Austin Reeves had 17, and it was actually Shake Milton had 21. So yeah, so other guys step up. They're gonna have to do just that, of course, if AD is gonna be out for a while.
Yeah, it looks like he's gonna be out maybe no more than a week. Well, the injury wasn't that bad. He suffered an injury in their loss on Tuesday at Philadelphia. For what the Lakers have gone through in this East Coast road trip thus far, they beat Charlotte on Monday, lost ugly, and lost Anthony Davis for the game on Tuesday in the back-to-back situation. But the Washington Wizards was what the doctor ordered last night, and everybody came ready to play. LeBron James had his couple of highlight plays, but as you mentioned, it was the supporting cast that needed to step up their play, and they did so against a bad team last night.
Yeah, so yes, they did. Again, this is what shake it out a little bit. So there you go. Despite 52 points from SGA, these are Wednesday's games. The Warriors, it was the Warriors over the Thunder, 116-109. Steph Curry, again, not his best shooting day. He was 5 for 10 from 3, 21 points, but it was Andrew Wiggins who, led the way with 27. But SGA, unfortunately, didn't get a lot of help from his guys, and other than Jalen Williams with 26. So that was one of the reasons why the Warriors were able to hang on.
Yeah, we talk about the Warriors struggling with injuries right now with Jonathan Kuminga and Draymond Green, but there's other guys you mentioned like Andrew Wiggins and Dennis Schroeder and Gary Payton II. They will have to step up. They've done that so far, despite the loss last weekend against the Lakers at home. It was a nice test for this young group, and they got it done against one of the best teams in the West.
All right, Minnesota pulled away from Phoenix, 121-113. Anthony Edwards, I talked about it a couple of minutes ago. 33 points with a great, a great January for him. Of course, KD, despite that, 33 points wasn't enough in a losing effort there. The Clippers over the Spurs, 27 for Norman Powell. 25 points from PJ Washington as the Mavs just edge out the Pelicans. That was a crazy game. If you took the over on that, we had a nice midweek there. Philadelphia over Sacramento, and I guess Sacramento, they're saying they're open to trade De'Aaron Fox. We'll get to that in a second. Jalen Brunson at 30 as the Knicks beat the Nuggets. Not a good week for the Nuggets so far. The Cavs, no trouble with Miami. Boston, of course, got a Boston over the Bulls. Toronto over the Wizards. Pacers over the Pistons, and the Nets over the Hornets.
Jimmy Butler decides to take an early exit from practice, and now he's suspended again. LaKeena, he's going to the Ben Simmons playbook and James Harden playbook of how to distract your team while trying to get your way and get out of your current situation. And let me say this is childish. This is despicable, and this is ridiculous, to be honest with you. I know we all call Pat Riley the godfather of NBA. I know these are two strong-headed minded personalities in terms of Jimmy Butler and Pat Riley, but I don't know if there's going to be a real winner in this. Can Miami trade Jimmy Butler between now and next Thursday? Yes, they can, but I don't know if they're going to get a deal done. If they don't get a deal done, what do they do? I hope they have a plan for that, because with those players in that locker room right now, their heads are spinning like crazy, and the shenanigans that Jimmy Butler is pulling, it's just really is really ridiculous, to be honest with you.
Oh, for the love of everything, you just trade the guy. He doesn't want to be there, and he's just become a big distraction and a pain in the butt. So look, if you want this to be look, He's gonna fire. They already talk about the players. Has already threatened to file a grievance, so they've already done that the first time he got suspended. So you want to keep have them keep filing grievances. So they're gonna have to come into some common ground here and such. So hopefully they can get something done before the trade deadline, because it's getting childish at this point on both sides. To Tuesday's games, Portland beat the Bucks. Golden State didn't short at 23 as they beat Utah. Houston beat Atlanta, and as Sid mentioned, of course, AD strained his abdominals as the Sixers beat the Lakers. A busy day Monday as the Suns edge out the Clippers. Bucks beat Utah. Dallas beats Washington. Minnesota beat Atlanta. We talked about the Bulls over the Nuggets. Raptors beat the the Pelicans. The Knicks beat Memphis. Mikal Bridges had 28 points there. Miami, they actually able to pull this off against Orlando in double overtime. Sacramento beats Brooklyn. Houston upset Boston. Dillon Brooks had 36 there, was a season high for him. Cleveland over Detroit, and the Lakers over the Hornets.
Yeah, the Cleveland Cavaliers got a big win over the Pistons the other night. You mentioned the Pistons; they're doing well this year, doing better than the Bulls. Rather, I know that's not saying much, but give JB Bickerstaff credit. I know Kitty Atkinson is your hands-down winner for NBA Coach of the Year, and rightfully so. No one expected Cleveland to be the number 1 seed in the East. Can they make it to the Eastern Conference Finals? Sure, but everything else going to have to fall their way, i.e. via staying injury-free and playing consistent basketball. But the Detroit Pistons, when you mentioned in our last couple of shows, Jaden Ivey gone for the year. Kate Cunningham, Isaiah Stewart. I know he got to some fisticuffs the other night against Indiana, but that's a strong, youthful, tough-minded Detroit Pistons team. I know Pistons fans are proud, but hopefully, if you're a Pistons fan, that the rug will not be pulled from underneath your feet. So they're playing some good basketball right now, and hopefully it can continue through the All-Star break and after the All-Star break. That's going to be key for this Pistons team.
Off to the weekend schedule for the NBA as the Clippers continues their East Coast trip as they face Charlotte. Dallas meets Detroit. That should be a fun one. The first game of the ESPN Friday doubleheader, which I'm sure they wish they probably could have flexed out of this one. Denver and Philadelphia at 6:30. These are tonight's games, by the way. The Bulls, we talked about it earlier. The Bulls are up north in Canada facing Toronto. At the same time, Boston meets the Pelicans. Milwaukee meets Golden State, and it should be a good one tonight in the nightcap of that doubleheader on ESPN at 9:00. You got the Suns and the Warriors.
All right, and the previous game in LaKeena, you had at Reynolds, Milwaukee and San Antonio.
Oh, my bad, San Antonio, 7:00.
Yeah, Giannis versus Wemby. That should be a fun matchup there. Your schedule for tomorrow, Saturday, February 1st, start of Black History Month, the start of a new month. Your matchups are as follows. Atlanta will visit Indiana, Orlando at Utah, Denver at Charlotte as Denver continues their East Coast road trip. Brooklyn visits Houston, Washington visits Minnesota, Sacramento will visit OKC. Your ABC Saturday night game of the week will visit the Los Angeles Lakers without Anthony Davis. LeBron James' crew will stomp into MSG to face the New York Knicks. That's at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on the ABC and ESPN Plus. Rounding out the Saturday night schedule, Miami without Jimmy Butler, they'll visit San Antonio, and Phoenix will visit Portland.
Sunday. No football, but you know what? You got the NBA to kind of keep you occupied. An early start for the Bulls as they face Detroit at 2:00. Note the start time, folks. Dallas and Cleveland at 2:30. Clippers continue their East Coast trip they go up north. At Toronto at 2:30. Got ESPN doubleheaders. You got at 5:00. You got Boston and Philadelphia, and the nightcap you got Memphis and Milwaukee at 7:30. And that's your schedule for this weekend in the NBA.
Hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 just around the corner right here on Second City Sports, the Friday Fun Edition, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. The final line dropped the ugly game last night in overtime at Nebraska. We'll get to some other happenings around college basketball. UIC with a big win over Bradley. Baseball, one player speaks out about his time in Chicago, in particular on the South Side. And we'll have our girl, Miss Christine, the Queen Manica, with all the news and nuggets from the sports and entertainment worlds. Stick and stay as you listen to Second City Sports right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
though. I'm scared. I mean, you're
Do you know that you're in my lane? No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports on the hashtag Friday Fun Edition. You're locked and loaded and live in the living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago. LaKeena McGee is she. Sidney Brown, that is me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at CKID. Once again, it's CKID. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, and IG.
If you have any questions or comments for us as we talk college basketball, and I'm digging into a little baseball here for this segment, kicking off hour number 2, you can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you.
Off to Omaha. No, this is not a opinion man.
Omaha!
But we're going there, of course, because Illinois had a tough loss there. As they did come back. They were down by as many as 12 points. It came back in the second half to tie Nebraska, but they only scored 4 points while the Nebraska scored 10 as Bryce Williams took over. He scored 8 of those 10 points, finishing with 27. For Nebraska as they beat the Illini. And look, they all 3 losses so far have been against some of the bottom teams. I mean, not necessarily that Nebraska's the bottom, but just how, especially with the way the new Big Ten set up. I mean, Nebraska's like near the bottom. But yeah, their 3 losses have been against those bottom tier teams in the Big Ten. And I know people said, well, Illinois could go to the Final Four. I mean, they could, but this is also another one of those cases where Illinois could end up not be able to get out of the first week in the tournament. That's just how this team is. And Morris Johnson, those 3 games, of course, without, of course, Tomasov, Ivisic. Of course, he's been gone the last 3 games for the Illini. They're 1-2 during that span, and he's only averaged about 8.3 points at 5.3 boards a game. And of course, the Pinnacle Arena over there in Omaha, that's Pinnacle Bank Arena, I should say. Of course, it's a regional bank there, and it's just that's a tough place to play. They were rocking last night, so a very tough loss for the Illini. That's only gonna get tougher too as we get deeper and deeper into conference play.
Yeah, and plus, I'm talking about the Illini. They host the Ohio State Buckeyes on Sunday. You can see that game on CBS is starting at high noon on Sunday Central Standard Time. But back to last night's game, these couple of statistics really pointing out the areas of concern for me. We talked about it on the show all year for this Fighting Illini team. Turnovers, the Illini had 17, Nebraska 6, and also with the points in the paint, 44 for Nebraska, 28 for the Illini. The Illini just like the Bulls at times. You cannot defend within the interior. You're not going to win very many games, especially in today's college basketball. But the Illini shot the three-point ball not great last night, only at 23%. They barely shot the ball respectively. I'm using this in air quotes here at 35%. You mentioned they came back from a 10-point deficit to force overtime, but they just didn't have enough energy to push it through last night. And sometimes you may get caught overlooking an opponent. You mentioned Nebraska. I know they're 13-8 now, but they've been struggling as of late these last couple of weeks in Big Ten play. The Illini, you thought they would learn that lesson with that loss against Maryland, but with them not having enough energy to finish it off last night, came to bite them in the butt.
Yep. So yeah, tough loss for Illinois. There we'll see against Ohio State. Speaking of, they beat Penn State pretty handily last night too. So gonna be a tough go at it for Illinois there, especially Isovich kid is still not gonna be able to play due to illness. Memphis no trouble. They got their first win in Tulane. Right there, New Orleans for the last 3 years. They last like almost 4 years. They lost 3 in a row there. So Dane Dager had 19 points. I saw this game yesterday, and they were determined not to lose again down there in Tulane. They've had their number, like I said, down there in New Orleans the last few years. UCLA, they're actually playing better. I know Big Crota's in a much better mood, like at least you hope. They've won 4 in a row. They handled Oregon.
Talk about a man.
Yeah, 78 to 52. As UCLA, they beat Oregon. There, Eric Daly Jr. had 21. Dylan Andrews has done very well. He had 15 points. He's a big the guard there, and he's been averaging about 18 points those last 4 games where they've won all 4, I should say. So looks like UCLA is starting to kind of get it back going again. Eastern Illinois, of course, we go a little bit outside, locally here. Yesterday, Eastern Illinois, they beat Western Illinois by 12 of 71-59. And also going back to Wednesday's games here for a second, of course, UIC got avenged that tough loss against Bradley last week. They actually finished what they started. Of course, they had no trouble with Bradley beating them down there in Peoria. George Mason, they beat Loyola Chicago in overtime by 5 there in that one. Auburn, no trouble with LSU. Alabama took care of Mississippi State. Houston beat West Virginia. Maryland continues their role as they upset Wisconsin. Texas Tech, no trouble with TCU. Ole Miss held off Texas. And DePaul, they lose after their win against Georgia. They lost their last 3 as they lose to defending champ UConn by 11.
And to stay with the college basketball locally, Rutgers beat Northwestern 79-72. Another tough loss for Northwestern. If they're going to make their 3rd straight appearance in the NCAA tournament, they're going to have to finish strong for the rest of the regular season, and they're going to have to basically run the table in the Big Ten tournament. I do not see that happening for Chris Collins and their staff this year. I know they had changes from last year's team, but they're just not the same. And being inconsistently defensively, offensively, they still have some talent, but defensively, where this team identity is, but they just haven't mustered up to be on that consistent level all year. Going back to the UIC Bradley game on Wednesday, Javon Jackson led the Flames with 25 points. When you shoot the ball well, like the Flames did, 51% overall, 53% from three, and they already bounded Bradley by plus 333 to 30. You're going to win very many ball games. Now, Bradley, they still have a fight on their hands to try to get that number one spot for that regular season title in the Missouri Valley. But UIC, even though they had a couple of tough losses here in the last couple of weeks, so it looks like they're starting to get back on track, and it's going to be a fight to the finish in that Missouri Valley between them and Drake. And so you're going to have about 3 or 4 teams battling for that top spot. So it's going to be a fight to the finish for sure.
Yeah, going back to yes, it is, and gonna be interesting with UIC. I know they did a feature on there with our buddy, of course, do with the GN sports team. Our buddy Chris Bowden from there, another friend of the show, and I think look, you can kind of tell that they're starting to kind of gel because look, it's like white people saying a lot of these guys are brand new. Rob Edson has done a great job, building this team. It's going to get a little bit interesting because they've had a couple bad losses. Of course, they had that loss against Southern Illinois last weekend. They play Indiana State tomorrow. We'll get to that in a second here. But yeah, I mean, look, I think it's going to be interesting to see how UIC kind of fans out, especially in these next couple, these last like 3 or 4 weeks before their conference tournament starts. Now, going back to that Rutgers game for a second against Northwestern, well, Ace Bailey, if it wasn't for Cooper Flagg and all the attention he's another freshman that's done a really great job. If it wasn't for Cooper Flagg, he probably would get a lot of the attention, or if he was going to a bigger conference. He had 37 points. He was 13 for 20, and 5 for 8 from 3. So he was hard to beat. And hard for Northwestern to defend. They really, if you saw, you heard Chris Collins' comments afterwards, that guy was going to be hard to stop. So it's only going to get better. We'll see if they get into the tournament. Talk about Rutgers, he'll be one of the main reasons why. So good. And I think one of Rod Harper's his other son, I think, goes there too. I know he was out because I think he had with an illness, but I think he's going to be back this weekend. But yeah, Rutgers could be a team to look out for these next few weeks. Now, sticking in, going back to the schedule for this week, Michigan State no trouble in Minnesota. Kobe Bryant had 18 points as Kentucky beat Tennessee, even though they were shorthanded. A couple of other guys were out due to injury and illness. Marquette pulled away from Butler. Kansas held off Central Florida. Texas A&M beat OU. St. John's beats Georgetown. Louisville beats Wake in Big East play. Akron beats Northern Illinois. Arizona State edged out Colorado. That was a grinded out game there. BYU beat Baylor 93-89 in overtime. Cannon catches at 23 points there. Pitt beat North Carolina, and Gonzaga, they're starting to get back on track too. They had no trouble against Oregon State. And real quick, Monday's matchups, Duke got their revenge a little bit against NC State. Cooper Flagg had 28 there. Arizona with I don't know what you want to call it an upset, but since they're not ranked, they beat Iowa State. Caleb Love had 22 points there. He's starting to get it going after struggling a bit. Michigan, they beat Penn State by 4. Ohio State beats Iowa, I should say, in Big Ten play. And UCLA, like I said, they've been on a roll lately. They beat USC 82-76 in their crosstown rivalry on Monday.
Going back to Tuesday's game in the ACC, North Carolina, they're now 13-9 on the year. They had a bad loss at Pitt of 73-65. 44 points in the first half of North Carolina, but only 21 points in the second half. They had that issues struggling to score in the basketball. And I asked you, I believe, earlier in the year are we worried about North Carolina? To my best of knowledge, I think you said no. Now sitting at 13-9 now, and we'll get to the rest of the schedule coming up. But I believe they have Duke tomorrow. Are you starting to get worried about Hubert Davis and his Tar Heel crew? I am.
Yeah, a little bit, and that was a bad loss against Pitt, and they just couldn't get the 3-ball let them down in the second half. So that was really, I think that was really one of the reasons why they lost that game, and just a lot of inconsistent. They kind of remind me of the Bulls in a lot of ways. So that they kind of when they're good, they're good. When they're bad, they're not so good. So unfortunately, we saw that that second half against Pitt. So it's gonna be interesting to see what they do with this. Going forward now, let's get to the schedule here. We got Yale and Princeton at 4:00. They're the top 2 teams in the Ivy League, so that should be a fun one in Princeton, New Jersey at Jadwin Gymnasium. Butler and Georgetown at 5:30 on FS1. Little A10 action, Dayton and St. Louis on ESPN2 here, and Indiana and Purdue at 7 o'clock on the Big Fox Network. And Marist, they're undefeated in MAC. I'm talking about the MAAC, the Mid-Atlantic American Conference. That's what they call it there. And they all host Siena at 8 o'clock on ESPNU. So they're getting a little MAAC love.
Let's see if Mike Woodson, going back to the Indiana Purdue contest tonight, let's see if Mike Woodson can make a big statement for this Hoosiers team. They're 14-7 right now. Can they make a big statement against their in-state rivals down there in West Lafayette?
They had a nice, hopefully they can kind of get it going there. They're already calling for his job, so he's going to have to go on a little bit of a run here. Going into tomorrow's games, February 1st, you got Florida and Tennessee. That's at 11 a.m. on ESPN. That should be a fun one. Providence and St. John's, of course. So Rick Pitino, of course, he coached there at Providence. That's how we got his name on the map there. With Billy Donovan as the star player there, got to the Final Four in '87. That's gonna be on CBS Sports Network at 11 a.m. Pitt and Wake Forest on ESPN2. Washington, Minnesota, Big Ten Network. Fordham and St. Bonaventure on the USA Network. Arizona State. This is the Pac-12. Well, not Pac-12. This is old Pac-12 rival, but now they're Big 12 rivals. CBS. That's an early start. It's like 10 a.m. for the folks there, so that's going to be an early start for those folks. Gonna be interesting to see how that works. Chicago State hosts.
Good morning.
Yeah. So gonna need like some breakfast and some like coffee or something or tea. Creighton and Villanova on Fox at noon. You got Auburn and Ole Miss on ESPN at 1. K-State and Iowa State, they may not be in a very good mood, so a warning to Coleman Hawkins and his Wildcats crew. The Cyclones might not be in a very good mood, so you might be in danger there, guys. At 1 o'clock on ESPN. And you got Northwestern, they're going to need these wins to kind of get it going and get back in the NCAA on the right side of the bubble as they host Wisconsin on FS1 at 1.
Going back to locally college basketball, Southern Illinois will host 19-2 Drake. That's at 1 p.m. tomorrow on ESPNU and ESPN Plus. Northern Illinois, they'll travel to Toledo tomorrow at 1 o'clock. That's on ESPN Plus. Speaking of UIC, shout out Jay Hood, aka John the Hood of ESPN 1000. His Flames will host Indiana State. That's at 2 o'clock p.m. on ESPN Plus. I'll have to find the TV and watch that one. Also, too, we will have Michigan and Rutgers at 2:30 p.m. That's on the Big Fox Network.
Oh, and Loyola, they host St. Joe's tomorrow at 1 o'clock. That's going to be on CBS Sports Network. So that should be a fun matchup there. Now, the CW, they've got the doubleheader. The first game of that doubleheader will be Louisville and Georgia Tech. Alabama hosts Georgia at 3 o'clock on ESPN2. On the big ESPN, you got Kansas and Baylor. That should be a fun one. Fresno State and Boise State at 3 o'clock. BYU and UCF, a Big 12 matchup at 3 o'clock. Going into the nightcap, you got Michigan State and USC at 3:30 on Peacock. Remember, that's only good. You're Killer streaming on Peacock, folks. And going into the nightcap should be a good one here. You got number 22 Texas Tech and Houston. Both these teams love to play defense, so it's going to be another one of these grinded out games here. Stanford and SMU at 5 o'clock on the ACC network. Let's see here. Texas and LSU at 5 o'clock on the SEC network as well. And, of course, you got over at Cameron, to talk about it earlier, you got Duke hosting North Carolina. North Carolina, we've been saying that they need this to kind of like get their resume going. And, of course, Cooper Flag is going to be interesting. This is going to be his first Duke North Carolina matchup. It's going to be interesting to see how this goes, but it should be a fun one as usual.
Mm-hmm.
You always throw the records and the rankings out the window when these two all-time rivals play each other.
Yes, classic moments. Hall of Fame players participating in this rivalry throughout the years, and like I said, tomorrow night should be no different. As you mentioned, Duke is having a heck of a year. North Carolina needs to get back on track after that bad loss at Pitt on Tuesday. Following that game on ESPN at 8 p.m. will be Arkansas Razorbacks. John Calipari, his crew, he'll make his return to the Bluegrass State as they'll face the number 12 ranked Kentucky Wildcats. They check in at 15-5 on the year. They'll get the primetime slot tomorrow. following that Duke North Carolina contest.
And I love Rick Pitino said, telling the Wildcat Nation to be nice to Coach Cal. So we'll see if they oblige.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Good luck with that one.
Well, hey, look, he said he tried. Look, I tried. 7 o'clock on the Big Fox Network. You got number 25 UConn against Marquette. The two of the top teams in the Big East, or two. I think UConn's like 4, but yeah, that should be a fun one on the Big Fox Network. Wyoming and San Diego State at 7 o'clock on ESPN Sports Network. A little Mountain West action there. Texas A&M and South Carolina. That's gonna be at 7:30 on SEC Network. Should be a good one here on FS1 at 8:30. You got in the Mountain West, you got New Mexico and Utah State. That should be a fun one. 2 tournament teams, so yeah, it should be a fun one there. Syracuse and Cal on ESPN2 at 9 o'clock. UNLV and Nevada, CBS Sports Network, Battle of the of Nevada there. Another good one here at 10 o'clock. You got Gonzaga and St. Mary's on ESPN. And that's it for that matchup for the Saturday slate.
All right, top 25 schedule for this Sunday, as I mentioned earlier, number 18, Illinois, the Fighting Illini will host the Ohio State Buckeyes. They'll be at high noon on Sunday on CBS. Other action, number 19, Memphis, my guy Penny Hardaway, they'll take on Rice. That's at 2 o'clock on ESPN+. And on the Big Ten Network to wrap up the action on Sunday night, Nebraska, who upset Illinois last night at home, they'll travel to the West Coast to face the 16th-ranked Oregon Ducks. That's at 6:30 on Sunday on the Big Ten Network.
Finishing up, you got Bradley in Northern Iowa. Bradley hoping to get that taste out of the mouth for the loss to UIC. That's at 3 o'clock on ESPN2. And DePaul will try to get their second win in Big East play. They host Seton Hall. They almost did. They almost got them when they were in New Jersey. So we'll see what they do here at 5 o'clock on FS1 on Sunday. And that's your schedule for this weekend in college hoops.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid LaKeena hanging out here with you. Coming up, it will be our girl, Miss Christine, the Queen Manica from KXRB in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. She's going to hop on with us to give us her thoughts on last week's championship game action from the NFL. We'll talk sports media news and a whole lot of other fun stuff. LaKeena, we'll discuss this in more detail with her coming up, as well. We'll give our thoughts now. Tim Anderson, the former White Sox player, he was on the Foul Territory podcast with Scott Braun and former White Sox player from the 05 World Series team, AJ Brzezinski, earlier this week. And I don't know about you, LaKeena. We all know the story about Tim Anderson, what he's been going through over these last couple of years with the Miami Marlins. Now he signed a minor league deal with the Anaheim Angels to see if he can make the club. And he talked about what he went through here in Chicago. We talked about before, LaKeena, he didn't have anyone to talk to. You know what he meant, especially us being Black Americans, about the stuff that he was going through at the time. We won't dive deep into that too much. But I found that interview to be very interesting. AJ Brzezinski, he had to ask the tough questions. He said it at the end of the interview. Tim Anderson was bothered by one of the questions. I forgot what it was, but I thought that Tim Anderson was honest and forthright about what his struggles were the last couple of years. And he also dove into a little bit on why he chose the Anaheim Angels. We all know that Ron Washington is the new manager over there now. I think that's the main reason why he signed over there, to be honest with you. But I thought for the limited time that he was honest, forthright, and I'm rooting for him personally. I never hated the guy. I wish things would have worked out here in Chicago. We really know what went down. But for the limited time they had him on the program, he was forthright. He was honest. He's really looking for a fresh start.
Yeah, and I think that's really what he was, that's what he really wanted. And look, I get, AJ, we know that, that's one of the top sports podcasts in the country, and there's a reason for that, because they answered some of the tough questions, and I'll defend AJ here. I mean, he felt like he had to answer those tough questions. I think that's what a lot of fans want to know, but also at the same time, though, you kind of you understood why. I know that he got TA got a bad rap here in Chicago for some of the stuff that happened. We won't talk about stuff that happened off the field. That's a whole different thing. But I hope he does well in Anaheim. I mean, I think, like you said, I think having Ron Washington there was probably one of the only reasons why he probably picked Southern California, because he's not really a Southern California guy, but we'll see if he can make the roster, and hopefully he can, have his, a fresh start, and perhaps maybe have a clear head, and hopefully he can get it going here.
Yeah, and what a coincidence! The Anaheim Angels open up here in Chicago against the White Sox on Thursday, March 27th. Will Tim Anderson be on the team by then? I think we could put a wager, for a nice friendly wager up on for that bet. But also, too, I found it interesting. We'll go into this more with our girl Christine coming up at the bottom of the hour. He did talk about that fight between him and Jose Ramirez.
Mhm.
And during that 2022 season, of course, Jose Ramirez knocked him out like a rag doll, and AJ Przinsky kind of backed him up and said, "Yeah, I've been through some fights too. In particular, I'm talking with AJ with Michael Berry back in May 20th of 2006. Your boy was at that game, but I digress. But AJ kind of laughs about it now. Of course, we all know that him and Michael Berry kissed and made up the next time they played each other during that season. But Tim Anderson, I guess he's moving on from it now. He's not going to take the AJ Przinsky approach and signing autographs and all that stuff. But he said he was trying to put a spark back into that team, which was underachieving at that time. It was a year after they won the division, but it didn't work. He has a new perspective on life, and so we'll see what happens as spring training will start here in a couple weeks for those teams, and with all that young talent that the Anaheim Angels have, we'll see if Tim Anderson has a chance to make that spot.
Yeah, that's really going to be the key here. We'll be cheering for him well over here on Second City Sports. We loved him here, so yeah, hopefully he can get it going there. Now, some other baseball notes: Max Scherzer signed a 1-year deal with the Blue Jays, and it looks like maybe Vlad Guerrero Jr. Rumors are up north that he might be signing a new contract extension with the Blue Jays. We'll see about that. Alex Bregman is still out there on the market now. He is sitting on I guess a 6-year, $130-something million offer from the Astros, but he's looking at other teams as well. Yeah, I think Detroit. There's another team that's being floated around, perhaps maybe for Bregman. The Red Sox, maybe even the Cubs. I heard a couple baseball guys, insiders say that they could still be in the running too for Bregman. So we'll just see where he decides to go.
I thought Tom Ricketts and his family was broke. They're actually going to change their mind?
Biblical losses, Sid. Biblical losses. You didn't know that, Sid? You forgot about that? So, yeah. So,
wow.
So, we'll be interested to see, if whoever wins that sweepstakes for Mr. Bregman. I'm not holding my breath for the Cubs, but look, if he is up, signing with the Cubs, hey, I won't knock it. That's all I'll say there. And of course, Pete Alonso, I guess Bob Nightingale saying that it's kind of almost inevitable that he is going to return to the Mets. So we'll see. But interesting baseball nuggets here. And of course, people are pissed about the Dodgers of them spending. Look, I wish both of our teams here in Chicago would open their checkbooks. But
thank you.
They're both cheapskates, so whatever. But hey, look, if the Dodgers can, got boatload of cash to flow around, hey, go for it. I'm all for it.
Yeah, don't forget the Dodgers are in the middle of that 25-year deal that they signed with them. It was Time Warner at the time, now Special Sports Net, and plus they have other revenue streams. With those foreign players that they have on their team, so they have advertisement from that community, the Japanese Korean community coming in as well. So, and plus they sell out just about every game. So the Dodgers have the resources to do it. But let's be real, LaKeena. Most owners can spend money the way however they like, but they choose not to. And when they choose not to, you go and complain. I always have this phrase: winners gain, losers complain. And going back to both our teams here in Chicago, Rick is claiming that he doesn't have money, but he does. We all know that Jerry Reinsdorf has money. We know that both his groups own the Bulls and the White Sox. So you can't say that they don't have money. They just choose not to spend it. If they do, they do not spend it wisely. It's not just about spending money, how you spend it wisely. And that's why you see the big teams every year. Looks like the Mets may be turning the corner now, especially after they got the biggest free agent price of Juan Soto. But you always see the Yankees, the Red Sox. I don't know, the Red Sox have been missing the playoffs the last couple of years, but they're back to being competitive now. And Toronto, they want to throw their money out there, but you mentioned, looks like Pete Alonso has no choice but to go back to the Mets now. So you see those big market teams that know how to spend money wisely, though. Those ones that are more consistent every year. Like you said, I just wish that we had that on both sides of the town. but in particular my team. But I digress.
We got our girl Christine Man from KXRB on deck. We got a lot to talk about with her. We've got we look
The
at
Sox
Bear.
promotional schedule. We got to discuss that with her too.
Yeah, we got Super Bowl prop bets. Yes, there are already prop bets out there for the Super Bowl already. It's not till next week. Go figure on that one. And lots of sports media news. A lot of moving pieces in the new NBA deal when it kicks in next year. So yeah, lots to talk with her coming up. LaKeena, McGee, Sidney Brown, Second State Sports, and Sports Chicago. Our girl Christine Mack from KXRB in Sioux Falls coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I needed for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too. These new socks? They can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to the Friday Funk edition of Second City Sports. You're locked and loaded right here on Sports Soul Chicago. I'm Sid. That's LaKeena. You can follow yours surely on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my kid McGee on the Twitter, X, and here's again, IG.
You have any last minute questions or comments for us during our last break of the show for today, especially for our weekly guests? You can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. Again, we'll get the up on the screen for you.
Let's not waste any more time, so we got a lot to talk about with her. She's our weekend girl from KXRB in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. She is the one, the only, the lovely Miss Christine, the Queen Manica.
Yay!
Hi, how are you?
Good.
We're doing
Try
great.
to stay dry.
Well, we've been having beautiful weather here all week, so it's been great.
Yes, just mostly rain here. So let's make fun of the Pro Bowl for a second, you guys. And of course, they had their skills competition last night, and of course, it's going to continue tonight. And of course, you got the Pro Bowl game itself, the Pro Bowl games coming up on Sunday. We always make fun of this. So Sid, I'll start with you. What do you think about the Pro Bowl and all that stuff? Let's go right at it, folks. Let's make fun of it.
We kind of predicted this a couple years ago on our podcast, LaKeena, that the NFL needed to do something like this because for those of you that don't know or may have forgotten, the Pro Bowl was held right after the Super Bowl. But all the players, especially the ones that participated in the Super Bowl the week before, they had to travel out there. Many of them opted not to play in the game, and rightfully so because of a long season. But right now, LaKeena, even though this was the best business strategy for the NFL, no one cares about it. I know they put in between the conference championship games and the Super Bowl to keep the fans' interest and to hold them over until the Super Bowl for that next week. But be honest with you, I didn't watch any other highlights yesterday. If I'm doing, and it's a big if I turn to it on Sunday, I'm just going to use it as a nap. To be honest with you, Christine.
I mean, I personally like the players showing off their goofy side and playing the game, so I don't really mind it that much. I didn't really watch it yesterday. The only thing I saw was Joe Burrow nailing that throw and hit it right at the moving X that I thought was pretty cool, and that the Manning brothers were a part of it. So I don't really mind seeing, athletes like that out of their element.
I don't mind it either. I mean, it's silly. Look, football's it's a long season. You kind of just let loose and have a laugh, and it's all for charity, so it's fine. I mean, look, I saw the relay race where the NFC won. That's pretty funny. And the dodgeball, the dodgeball on both sides won that one. NFC is actually leading the AFC 14-7. So as the games continue on Sunday going into the game, that'll be on ESPN and on NFL Plus for those of you guys streaming it. So it's all right there if you want to watch it. So it's all right there. Sid?
And sticking with football, I want to get Christine's thoughts. On the title games last week. The Commanders getting blown out at Philadelphia, and of course the classic game last week in the AFC title game, the highest rated game at CBS Sports has ever had. The Kansas City Chiefs getting by the Buffalo Bills by 3. Christine, what were your thoughts on the two conference title games last Sunday?
Personally, I thought maybe for the Eagles they should have just put in all of their second stringers for the fourth quarter, because it was pretty noticeable at that point that they were going to win the game. And for the Bills and the Chiefs, oh my goodness, like just a heartbreaker. You feel bad for not just Josh Allen, but for the entire team. And I heard a lot of people say it. Essentially, you have Sean McDermott that got outcoached. That's what happened. And were there some questionable calls, especially the one at the end of the game where it could have been a first down? Yes, of course. And I think it would have made a difference in the long run. But it's so tough when you're at that level. And especially with the experience coaching that you have on both sides, Andy Reid especially, it's tough. And it's going to be heartbreaking either way because someone has to lose.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see. Like I said, we'll have time to next week to talk about the Super Bowl and all of that, down in New Orleans. So, but yeah, I mean, it's going to be kind of like, like I said, it's going to be sort of like, who could control the tempo early. Like I said, the sort of your early Super Bowl, little breakdown here. But some of the prop bets, like I said, we'll dive deeper into this next week. But like some of the prop bets are interesting because, the first score, I think one of the biggest trends, at least right now, is the Super Bowl, like anytime touchdowns from one of the defenses. Will it be a defensive touchdown that kind of breaks the game open? Or, because you're not really gonna make any money on touchdowns, from Mahomes and Hurts, or even anytime touchdown from Saquon. So some of the other really prop bets so far is those the defensive touchdowns. People are saying, are taking some of the defensive guys, whether it's Chris Jones or Jalen Carter, will one of those guys get a pick six or a scoop and score? So those are like the top trending prop bets, at least right now. It's the 31st of January, but yeah, so it's sort of like the early prop bet so far. That's a lot of the money is moving in the money line. Sid?
I'm interested to see if there's going to be a special teams a touchdown. Of course, I'll say this right now. I think Devin Hester's record is safe. There will not be an opening kickoff return for a touchdown. So I think Devin Hester can breathe again for another year. But will it be a punt return for a touchdown?
Yeah. I gotta look at the odds there, but I'm sure the main line is going to
Interesting.
Yeah, it's like we haven't seen that. So, well, we have seen that like kind of one hand, but yeah, that is interesting. Interesting.
I'd be more interested to see if this goes into overtime. This game.
It could. I mean, look, it happened last year with the 49ers and the Chiefs.
That's a possibility.
Yeah. I could see that happening between these two teams. So yeah.
Yeah.
And of
even
course,
if
no, go ahead.
No, even I was also curious about how far Saquon Barkley is going to run. Is it going to be under 100 yards, over 100 yards? That'd be another interesting prop bet.
Yep, another good one. And of course, Brandon Grant, of course, he injured his biceps about 6 weeks ago. The injury window has opened for him. He might, the world was that if the Eagles made the Super Bowl, he might be back, and they're in the Super Bowl now, so he might be coming back. So he's going to be a big X factor for that front seven. So who knows? He might do what he did to Tom Brady a few years ago when the Eagles beat the Patriots. So I think Mahomes better watch out in that respect.
Agreed.
Yep. We'll see what happens there. As LaKeena said, we'll do a deep dive into the prop bets next week. Christine, I want to ask you about the Chicago Bears. Both the new offensive coordinator and defensive coordinators and a special teams coach met with the media on Wednesday. If you were sitting in Ryan Poles' chair Ryan Poles' chair for the offseason, what would be your first move as far as we prepare for the free agency and the draft? What's the first need that the Bears should address this offseason?
I think everybody's talking about the offensive line, and I would agree with that. I think that you need to get another guy on the line in order to protect Caleb Williams. As far as the defensive side goes, it wouldn't hurt to get another bigger guy on the line as well. So that's what I would focus on, because now you have the coach. Now you have the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator. You just need all the extra pieces now to fill in the missing spaces.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier. With the edge rushers, we talked about a couple of guys that are that could be there for the Bears to take in the later rounds, if not, at that number 10. And of course, the O line, of course, Abdul Carter, of course, sorry, Bears fans. I know you guys want him, but he's probably going to be gone within those first 2 or 3 picks. So sorry, folks, with him. But the O line, there's so many names out, so many guys that we talked about it here earlier, and we're gonna be doing this for like the next 4 or 5 months, so we might as well just wear ourselves out talking about it right now. But yeah, look, Ryan Poles so far. I know there've been a couple of exceptions, Kyler Gordon and Andrew Billings, who of course the Bears missed him this past season, but you got to get it going here if you want to win and take the North. So I'm just saying.
Yep, exactly. You got to be in it to win it.
All right, this is Second City Sports on Sports with Chicago. LaKeena, McGee, Sidney Brown, our girl KXRB's Christine Manica joining us for her weekly visit. There's a lot of sports media news, so let's do the sports media news thing because we got a lot to get to here, folks. They made the official announcement. Amazon, of course, they're going to be starting their NBA coverage next year, and they plucked one of ESPN's top people for their coverage, Miss Cassie Hubbard, and also a Chicagoan. She's been named the number 1 sideline reporter when it begins their NBA coverage coming up next season. She'll join Ian Eagle and some other. We'll get to some of the other names that have been named for in a second. But yeah, so Christine, what did you think? What do you think about this move? We talked about it a little bit during our group chat.
And everybody wants their shot in the big leagues, and this is the way to do it. It's a new initiative to do it on Amazon Prime, and so far it's been pretty successful for the most part for the NFL. So I think it's a good way to expand the game a little bit more, especially when football has been dominating the ratings recently.
I know you went off first. I know you had a little.
Well, it's the question.
Yeah, the Cassie Hubbard being named the #1 sideline reporter for Amazon's NBA coverage.
Oh, a fellow Chicagoan. She's worked her butt
Yes.
off ever since she was at ESPN back in 2013. Doing those daily nightly shows. I remember on ESPN2, NBA Tonight back in the day. She's worked her way up as far as sideline reporting is concerned. She did the online shows for years before the finals called Hoop Strings. Those are very good with her and Kendra Perkins, the various ESPN analysts. For those of you that don't know, she started her career in Chicago, interning at NBC5, and of course at 670 The Scores. So she's definitely paid her dues, and she's going to do a great job with the Noah Eagle. And I think Jamal Crawford's the #1 analyst over there. I'm not sure, but I think that no one team is going to take place, but she's going to do a great job over there at Amazon for the NBA, and they're really setting the mark here early. So it was a great move by Amazon, and it's definitely going to work out. The players like her, the NBA community likes her. She's very respected around her field, and so this is going to be a great move. A great job by another fellow Chicagoan.
Yeah, I remember with her first work on the Big Ten Network too. That's when her really started to rise. Of course, she went on ESPN. Now she's going to knowing she's going to Amazon, doing their coverage. I'm sure she's gonna be doing some other stuff too, for Amazon as well. So good for her. You always love when good things happen to great people, and she is good people. So she'll be joining Ian Eagle in that coverage there. And speaking of, going to NBC side for their NBA coverage, it looks, this is according to Front Office Sports from a couple of days ago. Hall of Famer Reggie Miller has finalized a deal to be one of the top NBA analysts when the league returns next year. So, and also speaking of Jamal Crawford, he'll be joining that coverage as a part of a game analyst, of course. 3-time NBA Sixth Man of the Year. He has a couple of NBA titles to his credit as well. So, what do you guys think about those moves there?
I've been liking the commercials for NBC promoting the NBA going on there in Peacock. I think that's pretty fun.
Yep. Sid?
Reggie Miller, he's been doing a great job at Turner for the last 20 plus years or so, and he has great insights. Him and Kevin Harlan work great together, but it looks like it's going to be him and Mike Tirico for that first crew. It's going to be interesting how those two personalities mesh. Not saying in a bad way, but I think it's going to be good for the NBA game. So Reggie, even though he's still in his, I believe, late 50s, he's still pretty much a young man in terms of following the game and knowing the game. So he's going to do a great job for NBC. I hope they get my suggestion I've been putting out there.
Well, what'd you say, Sid? Your mic went out. What'd you say, Sid? Your mic went off. You went in and out.
Sorry, I just hope that they consider Jalen Rose to be a part of the NBA coverage starting next year. So you got Reggie Miller over there. You mentioned they got Jamal Crawford over there. Hopefully they bring over Jalen Rose, if not a game analyst, to be a part of their studio show.
I think he is. Let me look that up real quick. But I think he has been named part of their studio show there. I'll look it up. But yeah, I thought somewhere it's all but official, because I think he's going to be doing it for the hold on, let me see. Yeah, he's already on Peacock doing college hoops. So yeah, I'm assuming that he is going to be doing stuff for the NBA, especially for their coverage when it starts. So yeah, it's all I think he is going to do that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with there. We'll see as it goes further there. Now, going back to the NFL for a second, Jameis Winston will join Fox Sports' digital coverage as a correspondent for Super Bowl week in New Orleans. So look, we've seen his his passion pregame speeches. Of course, he had a couple solid games for the Browns. Of course, they upset Baltimore early this past season, and he's got a great personality. So this could be a nice little practice for him if and when he decides to go into broadcasting after his playing career is over with.
He's very entertaining, so I expect him to be at least somewhat entertaining when he joins the sideline, the crew for a little bit during the Super Bowl. So that should be good.
Sid? Sid? I think we're having problems with Sid's having problems with some of his Wi-Fi here, but yeah, let's Sid, can you hear us?
Jameis Winston, right, LaKeena?
Huh? Yeah, Jameis Winston, yeah. Sid, yeah, go refresh your thing, Sid. Come in and come back on. Go out and come back on again. I think they made a refresh here, but as Sid is doing that, yeah. Like I said, your mic's going in and out. I think your might be the Wi-Fi. I don't know. It's been raining here in Chicago these last couple of days, so been doing its thing here. But yeah, I think the James got great.
Let me hop.
Oh yeah. So, as he does that, yeah. James got a great personality, so yeah, I think this is going to be a nice little practice for him. I'll be just like you said, Chrissy. I'm going to just see if they do kind of let him play with the big boys over at Fox, with Kurt and TB and the rest of that group. So see how he meshes well with them, and we'll see what happens. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he does this next week as we go into Super Bowl week when everything really starts to kind of get it going here. Now, I don't want to go too much into this next story, but we have to talk about it. Of course, Justin Tucker, their Ravens all-pro kicker. Well, I won't get into details because it's a little bit graphic, but think of Deshaun Watson, all that transpired. Kind of just cut and paste, Justin Tucker's name, and apparently, I guess he was kicked out of not one but two massage parlors around the Baltimore area, and then all this other stuff. So we know he's been struggling. He has had his struggles the last couple of seasons. So it's gonna be interesting to see. Like I saw, like some people were talking about it, some people weren't. So it's gonna be interesting how all this transpires. I mean, I know John Harbaugh in his end of year presser a couple weeks ago said that he wants to bring Tucker back. Might not be able to do that now, especially with this recent news.
Well, I'll have to disagree with you, LaKeena, on the last couple seasons of his struggles. It was just really this year that he was struggling. So you can tell that something was going on with him this year. As far as the investigation goes, when it all plays out, I think we're all hopeful that it's not the case. What's going on? There's a difference between the amount that Deshaun Watson had when it come to accusers to now what Justin Tucker has. And it is interesting. I read the story from that Baltimore paper. It is interesting to see how they only picked out a few points here and there and really didn't interview that many people behind the situation. So I guess the story is that we really don't know anything that happened and what went on all those years ago. So I think until there's more confirmed sources out there and that there's more research behind these accusations, I think at this point we can only hope that it all turns out well for Justin Tucker, and if not, he lost his chances at being at the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. So, Sid, I see you're back with us. Yeah. I'll say yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Just piggyback on what Christine was saying. You guys were talking about the Justin Tucker story that was out. Like you said, that this is a story that's far from over. In Justin Tucker's case, you hope that these allegations are not true. If it is, he's definitely going to be looked at a different light. Just check out the Deshaun Watson, and you can make your own conclusions there. So, like you saying, Christine, this is only the beginning. They haven't interviewed everybody yet, and so. Will anything come out of it? Will it be in terms of money exchanging hands? And speaking in general, in terms of some of these cases, well, we don't know. But this story is far from over. And it's just hopefully, wherever the conclusion is, hopefully the truth comes out.
Yeah, same. Yeah, like I said, I think we shouldn't make any conclusions until everything is said. Like you said, Christy, it was very vague. Yeah, some of the grief details were grabbed, but they were still
Hmm.
like kind of vague. So, and this happened years ago. So we'll wait and see what happens there. Now, so I want to give you a chance to comment on Jameis Winston, joining Fox Sports Digital for their coverage of the Super Bowl. I know you kind of went in and out there. So finish your thought on that.
We all know that he's an entertaining personality. Of course, he played for the Saints for those couple of years ago, so he knows that town inside and out. One thing that's for sure, he won't have to ask the Lord to deliver him from a pick six, so he won't be playing. So and
Right.
and and he's going to be engaged with the fans from both teams, with the Eagles fans for sure, and the Kansas City Chiefs / Patrick Mahomes fans. So it's going to be a whole lot of fun, and it's going to be interesting to see how much coverage that is going to get for Fox NFL Sunday's 7 or 8 hour marathon pregame show next Sunday. So I'm interested to see how much he'll get on there.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, it's gonna be, will they let him like play with the big team, over there with like I said, with Kurt
Hmm.
and TV and Gronk. That's gonna be interesting to see, like, if they decide maybe he may have, like I said, he may have something to look forward to when he retires. So we'll see what happens there. Let's second see sports on Sports of Chicago. LaKeena McGee, Sidney Brown, our girl Christy Mack from KXRB joining us as we're doing sports media news / pop culture news and going with the theme here. Angel Reese, of course, the star second year
Yeah.
player for the Sky. Couple interesting notes here. She's had a busy last couple of days. McDonald's has announced that she's going to have a signature burger named after her, and she also paid off for her mom's birthday. She paid off her mother's mortgage, so she's had a nice last. Of course, she had magazine covers all over the place, so she's been a very busy bee this off season. Angel has.
Not a burger, but an entire meal named
Yeah,
after
I
her.
saw.
She's
Oh,
the
yeah.
first female athlete to have a whole entire, meal dedicated to her at McDonald's. I think it's great. I think everyone's focusing on Caitlin Clark. Yeah, she's one of the best to ever do it in the game. But I think it's fair to say that Angel Reese deserves some flowers too, because I think she's part of Kate. Not I think she is part of Caitlin Clark's legacy. That's the ultimate rival that everyone has been waiting for a long
Hmm.
time, since the Larry Bird and Jordan era. So I think both of them kind of deserve flowers in different ways, and I think this is part of it with what McDonald's is doing for her. So I think that's great. Might not be the healthiest option, but it's great.
Could be a cheat meal for somebody. You never know. Sid,
Yeah.
Sid. Uh-oh, Sid, are we having trouble with
Well, speaking of
Sid?
Caitlin Clark, she's not going to participate in the 3-point shooting contest at All Star Weekend. So she needs some time off. Speaking of Angel Reese, a great gesture by her to retire her mother there.
Yep.
So, and you bring up a point, Christine, about with her rivalry between her and Caitlin Clark, and also too, this will be a setup for all the female basketball players that's coming out of college now and within the next few years. So hopefully they can earn some extra money. I know some of the WNBA players are participating as we speak in this offseason three-player
Mhm.
league, but this was hopefully set up for those future, not just current but future WNBA players to earn a little bit more money. As people hopefully continue to watch it, hopefully the product continues to grow, it'd be better. They'll get those big TV deals, and those WNBA players will get more money. Will they get as much as the men? Right now, no, because they don't play as many games as the men. Right now, I believe is 40 games looking for the WNBA. I know
Mhm.
82
Yeah.
for the men, so they have some catching up to do there. But if the product keeps on growing, as you mentioned, Christine, with the rivalry between Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark keeps going, and both those teams be competitive, and others future stars coming in like Juju Rockets and Paige Beckers out of UConn coming in within the next 2 or 3 years. The WNBA has the potential to grow even more, but the Angel Reese, a great job by her by retiring her parents, and hopefully the Sky can be competitive next year. LaKeena, I know Courtney Vandersloot is now back with the team, but
Mhm.
Angel Reese needs some help in Camila Cardoso. I know she was injured last year too, so hopefully this guy can bring back some winning to that team, because it's a big market, and the WNBA can use a big market out, just not just in New York, to help them grow their league.
Yeah, remember Kelsey Plum just got traded to Los Angeles
Yep.
last week. That was one of the big trades, big mega trades that came out of the WNBA last week. And it'll be interesting to see. I know our girl Julia Poe from the Tribune last night. She covers the Sky as well as the Bulls, and she said that don't be surprised if the Sky, of course, they're in the top 5. Don't be shocked if they do trade out of there, perhaps maybe get one of those those veteran players with an expiring contract. So we'll see what happens. I mean, it's going to be kind of interesting because, of course, you've got like you said. So you got Watkins and Beckers, and of course, don't forget Hannah Hidalgo from Notre Dame, and a couple other stars. So yeah, I think. Look, with the new TV deal, of course, for the WNBA, I think they're definitely getting noticed and getting their flowers. Are on their way up. But like you said, they got a long ways to go before. I know people are miffed about, oh, they're still making less than the men. Well, it's supply and demand. I know that Candace Parker and Peyton Manning, they're part of an ownership group, perhaps maybe for a new WNBA team, the Summit, that's going to be named after, of course, her Parker's late college coach, Pat Summit. And it'll probably grow a little bit more. I mean, I know there's going to be a team coming up in Canada. There's going to be a team in Sacramento. So yeah, I think growth is really going to be the key for the WNBA if they want to get that big money. So that's really going to be how all that kind of transpires.
All right, we're heading down the home stretch of Second City Sports, the Friday Funk Edition, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's LaKeena. It's Christine. Christine. We'll end it with the White Sox. I know they had that fan fest last weekend on the south side of Chicago. Former White Sox player Tim Anderson, he appeared on the Foul Territory podcast earlier this week. Did you get a chance to listen to the interview or watch it? If so, what were your thoughts?
You know what? I did not watch it, so I don't know what he said.
Well, yeah, basically the gist of it, AJ, kind of, gave him some questions about his time with the White Sox, and Tim kind of shared that he felt sort of lost, with the team, and that's and so some of the other things too that that happened here. Of course, he got into that whole fight with Jose Ramirez from a couple of years ago over there in Cleveland. But he's gonna have a new start in Anaheim. So playing playing for the Angels here in Southern California.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he signed a minor league deal, and of course we'll see if. Yeah, we'll see if he, gets a chance to perhaps maybe if he does well enough, maybe of course the Angels, face the White Sox in the first week of the season. So
I'll tell Chris good luck with him.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see if he makes the roster by then. So yeah, it's gonna be kind of interesting. But hopefully, like I said, I hope Tim Anderson does well, and I'm sure you feel the same way, Christine, right? I'm sure TA does well, and hopefully he can get his career back on track.
Well, yeah, and not to mention, Tim Anderson had a couple of big personal issues going on the side, and they made headlines too. So it was just the rough, I would say, last 4 years of his career as a White Sox.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, we're wishing Tim Anderson the best. White Sox live last weekend. Mark Burley is going to get a statue. Is going to be revealed during a Friday night game against the Cleveland Guardians. And so, Christian, I want to ask you, well, what did you think about Mark Burley getting his statue? And do you think he has a chance within the next couple years to perhaps be elected to baseball's Hall of Fame?
It's not just any day in July that they're, revealing his statue. It's on July 11th, one of the biggest moments of his career, getting that perfect game. So very significant, very well deserved. I hope it doesn't turn out like Dwayne Wade's statue. I hope they do a good job with it as they were showing the video with him. Yeah. As they're showing the video of him getting molded and just being still so the sculptor can get a good idea of him in his uniform and a certain positions. So I think that's great. I know he only got, I think it was 45 votes for the Hall of
Yeah.
Fame this year, and I'm sure that's going to grow. But
Mhm.
with the folks that did get in, it's hard to argue that class right there. So hopefully he'll get in eventually.
Yep. Yeah, Billy. Yeah, of course. Ichiro, Cece Sabathia, and Billy Wagner. Yeah, you're Hall of Fame. So yeah, I'm sure. Look, he might have to wait and get in through the veterans community talking about Burley, but I think he will get it eventually. I think so. That's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Now, Sid, real quick with the Sox promotion. Some of the Sox promotions they got coming up this year.
Oh yes, I won't go through all of them, but I'll just go through a few that I think they're important to Sox fans. Saturday, May 3rd, against the Houston Astros, the Dick Allen 1972. Speaking of the Hall of Fame, he's in the Hall of Fame this year. His bobblehead is going to be given away first. I believe 15,000 fans. That's a reunion weekend, as I'll call it, against the Astros here in Chicago. So Saturday, May the 3rd, the Dick Allen bobblehead giveaway. But on opening day, Thursday, March 27th, against the LA Angels, Christine's husband's team, the first 20,000 fans will get a 125th anniversary plush blanket.
Oh, nice.
Yep. Saturday, March 29th, against the Angels, first 15,000 fans, 1907 blue replica jersey.
Ooh.
That should be interesting. Yep. Saturday, April 12th, against the Boston Red Sox. First 15,000 fans, a 1920 jersey hoodie.
Ah, nice.
I'm definitely be in the line early for that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Also, too, Christine, are you into Star Wars at all? Or any of your friends into Star
Not
Wars at all?
really. I mean, I like Baby Yoda, but that's about it.
Well, speaking of Star Wars, there's a special ticket package on Sunday, May the 4th, against Houston. If you purchase a special ticket package, you can receive a limited edition of a Steve Stone Star Wars bobblehead.
That's funny.
Yep.
Love it.
Yep. Going through some other promotions quickly. Saturday, May 24th, against the Texas Rangers, a 1914 World Tour T-shirt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And let's see, there's a couple other interesting promos for the month of July. If I could just go through them here. Speaking of Friday, July 11th, Christine, with the Mark Burley statue unveiling, first 15,000 fans will receive a 2005 championship, 2000 celebrating the 20th year of the 05 White Sox team, 2005 champs Hawaiian shirt courtesy of Baker's Pizza.
Gotta love that.
Yep. Saturday, July 12th, against the Indians, a Mark Burley replica statue. First 15,000 fans. The promotion is sponsored by Miller Lite, age 21 and up. And on Sunday, and this is a big one right here, in my opinion. I'll definitely be in line for this one. Sunday, July 13th, against Cleveland, Burley, Garland, Garcia, and Contreras bobblehead. First 10,000 fans.
Wow, that's a lot of bobbleheads.
Yes,
it is. Yes, it is. And on Sunday, August 10th, also against Cleveland, Ozzie Guillen bobblehead, but only 7,500 fans will be receiving those Ozzie Guillen bobbleheads. So a little bit less. So they definitely want you. The Sox definitely want you to get out there to the park on that day early.
What's you say, Christine?
Because everybody has it. Yeah, probably because everybody has an Ozzie Guillen bobblehead by now.
I will say, well, I'm sure Ozzy knows about it. I'm sure he's probably like, wait a minute, how come I only get 7,500 bobbleheads? How rude! Come on, you should have like 10 or 12,000.
Yeah, just a couple more here. Saturday, August 23rd, against the Minnesota Twins, a 1980 sweater vest for the White Sox, commemorating their 1983 division championship team. And then on the next day, on the August 24th, 7,500 fans will receive a Ken Griffey Jr. bobblehead, courtesy of United. Remember, Ken Griffey was only here for 2.5 months back in 08.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's good there. On Saturday, August 30th, against the New York Yankees, a Babe Ruth and Al Simmons 1933 All-Star Game figurine. Of course, 1933 was the first year that the White Sox hosted the MLB All-Star Game at Old Comiskey Park. And on Saturday, September 20th, against the San Diego Padres in the last home series of the year, on Saturday, September 20th. St. Patty's hockey jersey. You can look at it on whitesox.com. I really like these
Classic.
hockey jerseys this year.
Love it,
Yes,
love it.
so
Yeah,
yeah,
one of my
so
favorite classic jerseys. Love it.
yep. So for those of you that are interested, the White Sox will have tickets available on Thursday. When I believe it's Thursday, February 13th. If you want to see these promotional items, you can go to the White Sox official website and go to under schedule promotions and giveaways. You can see the items listed right there.
Nice. Love it, love
Yep.
it, love it. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I might try to, see if I can get go to a couple of those promotions. They sound very interesting. I want that Garland bobblehead. All those bobbleheads,
Oh, sure.
yeah, that should be interesting too. Those bobbleheads. I already have an Ozzy bobblehead. I gave it to my brother, so it's gonna be interesting.
See, my point. Everybody has one.
Exactly. So yeah. So, but Ozzy probably wants everybody to get one. Everybody, and their parents and their grandparents and their grandkids. So
only 7,000 people can get that on that day. I wish it was a little bit more, but that's the White Sox for you.
Yeah, well, I'm sure he's not very happy about that. I'm sure. So, anything else before we disperse, guys?
Countdown to Super Bowl
good.
59 is on.
Yeah. I'll say
Yeah.
So we'll definitely have a lot to talk about that as well next Friday. On that note, you follow my Keena McGee on the Twitter, X, and and the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sidney Brown, on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. Christine, where can the lovely people follow you on social media?
They can follow me at _KXRB on X or Twitter.
All right. All right. You catch Second City Sports every Monday and Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago. You can catch Second City Sports every Monday and Friday, and then replays from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
And don't forget to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast. We are located at Ward Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. While you're ready, please give Ward Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
And of course, we like to thank the lovely and talented Miss Christine, the Queen Manica. She was our only guest for the show today. We always thank her for her time to join us today.
Of course, happy to be here.
Absolutely, we're happy to have you on with us always. We appreciate it every single time you join us, Christine. Don't ever discount that. All right, folks. The count, like Sid said, the countdown to Super Bowl 59 is on New Orleans. We'll try to get some guests on. We'll do prop bets. We'll do all the other good stuff like we usually do here for the Super Bowl. We've been doing for like the last few years. We've done this show. So enjoy the gear up for it. Watch some hoops, watch some golf. I know we got the Pebble Beach program going on right now as we speak, and so much more for Sid and Christine. Stay dry and warm and be safe out there. And of course, our thoughts and prayers go out to the figure skaters who passed away, with that horrible tragedy that happened over the Potomac River. Thinking about all those folks as well. And of course, Dick Button, of course, a legendary figure skater and commentator who passed away as well. So a tough last 24 hours for the figure skating community, but we're all thinking about you guys and also to the rest of the victims of that crash. So thinking about you guys there. So, but try to kind of to watch some sports or movies or whatever you guys like to do to kind of live, kind of like get into a better mood. So be safe and be good to each other. So for Sid and Christine, I'm LaKeena of Second City Sports on Sports Chicago. We'll see you guys next week.
Have a great weekend.